potential of supporting greening higher education from different perspectives. And I think that I would like to invite here, Mrs. Dima Al-Khatib, who is already here, and I will introduce her in a minute. I would like to invite George Tavola, please. George, join us whenever you wish. Okay. I will introduce you in a minute. And then also Mrs. Justina Nixon Sankville. Okay, please have a seat. Oh, maybe here. How I can stand up. You need to wait. Okay. Okay. Let me first introduce Mrs. Dima Al-Khatib. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. She is the director of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation based in New York. Mrs. Al-Khatib or Dima, I have a question for you. If you can respond in 3 minutes, that would be fantastic. Okay, okay. That's a challenge for today. Okay. As director of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, can you share with us your insights about the role of South-South cooperation in supporting higher education institutions? And if you can, also in this enormous task of promoting greening societies.
3 minutes, are you?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for session. I'm very happy to meet everyone here. It's such an interesting discussion. I believe South-South cooperation is led by the principles of solidarity, of bringing countries together towards a common cause. And the fact that countries from the global south, they do share a lot of common issues, and they do share also the desire to become self-independent, become knowledge led by knowledge that breeds and that is born in their own country, is by itself a key drive for such an initiative that will allow for the greening of higher education. And I think it will become extremely organic. I do see and I witness a lot of collaboration among universities, among different think tanks. We just talked about that. But with this initiative that we will talk about today, it will go deeper, and it will really leave a stronger mark, if you will, that will definitely be a sustained mark for the future.
Yeah. We haven't exhausted yet your 3 minutes of glory. So let me add a follow-up question, because I think that sometimes people ask the question whether in the global south there is really the feeling of the need for greening our societies, greening our institutions. What would be your response?
I mean, it differs from one place to another, but I think the overall desire to green its path for development and its education being part of development is there. It has always been there. Sometimes it has not been leveraged enough, but it is there. And the more investment we do, the more we will be on the right path.
Thank you very much, Nima, for bringing the UN voice to this first panel. Now I'm moving to another very important voice in the region and globally in an increasing form. Mr. George Tavola is the engagement manager of one of the most important foundations when it comes to education, which is Education Above All. Okay, so I'm really glad that you have found the time to be with us, George. Given the focus that the foundation that you are representing has on greening education, can you tell us more about how civil society organizations like your foundation, the role that they can play actively in greening higher education and promoting greening skills, particularly with marginalized communities, because we know that this is a very important focus of what the foundation does.
Thanks, Francis, and thanks for the invitation to speak at this session. So I work for Reach Out to Asia, which is a program of the Education Above All Foundation, where we focus on many areas in education. Our program has refined our mandate just of this year to focus exclusively on education for climate action. So really the focus is on working with partners in around the world. While our names reach out to Asia, we do work outside of Asia now, so it's a bit of a misnomer now. But the idea is that we partner with projects, with partners who implement on the ground projects that build the capacity of young people with theory and knowledge and skills, values, and behaviors, but ultimately how they translate that into action in their communities. So often civil society organizations are the link between universities and the communities because they have the reach into marginalized communities. They also are more aware of the adverse impacts of climate change, and they can provide the opportunity for university students to apply that theoretical knowledge and practice on the ground. We just launched a project in Pakistan with the British Council of Pakistan, whereby universities host clubs. Now it is extracurricular, but these clubs follow a curriculum. We have an active citizens program that has an integrated UNDP climate change toolkit. And the idea is that this is mirrored in the community with groups that reach out to marginalized youth. So through this collaboration, university students get to work with marginalized communities and apply projects in the ground, like tree planting or water conservation or what have you. So this idea of collaboration, partnership, but also shared knowledge and expertise ultimately empowers all parties, not just the students and the marginalized youth, but the educators in the university as well, who can then tailor and apply lessons learned in formal curricula in the universities. In Vietnam, we have a project with Action Aid Vietnam that works directly with young farmers to introduce eco-friendly farming practices around aquaculture or wind or solar energy, for example. But they also partner with the university in the Mekong Delta, or Cantor University, with students studying environmental and natural resource related degrees, and research students there, having been exposed to the project and done a needs analysis, themselves designed a mechanism to measure reduction of greenhouse gas emissions and train the local farmers in how to utilize the technology and have that kind of ownership of data collection. So the farmers who are considered low educated are also empowered to have ownership of the scientific process and then see the actual evidence of what the benefit is in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, but ultimately for the farmers, cost effectiveness when it comes to expensive methodologies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No. Fantastic, because I was about to ask you about the examples, typical examples of what you do. And I think that you have been very clear about those and the potential. But let me add something, because I think it is very important. You said that these are extracurricular activities, but often people working at universities in particular will refer to the experience of the student, which goes beyond what is happening inside the classroom. So I think that these examples that you have shared with us are part of the whole experience of what a university student should have nowadays. So thank you very much.
I think the byproduct of experiential learning, we don't even cover, but there's many unexpected benefits as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, George. And now we turn to the private sector, which is often referred to as the devil here. But we are I know. But we at the United Nations system, and particularly at UNESCO, we would like very much to stress the opportunities that IBM is providing precisely through their contribution to greening IT, greening education as well. Now, you said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't ask you questions before introducing you. Mrs. Justina Nixon-Saintil is the Chief Impact Officer and Vice President of Corporate Social Responsibility at IBM. So we have also a big name. We have had 3 big names here. And now, on your capacity as representative of IBM, the company often says that you are committed to creating better pathways to conserve natural resources, reduce pollution, and minimize climate-related risks. Okay. Now, from the perspective of the private sector, how do you see your contribution, your role in bridging greening higher education to green jobs and green technology, specifically when it comes to, if you can, to the current and future workforce and employment as well as training Justine, please.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. So at IBM, we take this very seriously. We have a mission to actually skill 30 million people by 2030. And that's a commitment that we made in 2021, and we are well on our way there. And, you know, there are a few reasons why we're doing this. First of all, we believe it's our responsibility to make sure we have a very skilled workforce. We also want to make sure we have a diverse workforce. There are a lot of underrepresented, marginalized populations that have been left out of the tech workforce. And we want to make sure that we give them the skills that are needed so that they can get a very good paying job and increase their social and economic mobility. And it's good business, right? This is about, of course, supporting society, but companies, our company, our clients, they want people who understand these technologies, and they want people who understand sustainability and AI and can actually come and create products and buy our products as well. So I think this is good business all around. We work with universities globally. I think we work with thousands of universities, and we provide access to our software. We provide access to free content. We support faculty, making sure they have access to the latest training as well in AI and sustainability. In fact, just a few weeks ago, we launched new sustainability learning pathways. And we launched it across areas that make sense for us as a company. So it's sustainability and AI. How do you interpret data and gain insights from that and make decisions based on that? Because this is a growing field. I think, sustainability or green jobs, I think it's the second growing field right now. So we want to make sure people are prepared and understand the data, understand what this means to lowering emissions and creating the right products and innovating in this space and being able again to graduate and be able to get these types of jobs. So it's extremely important for us to focus on this. And we believe that, we need to make sure that we have a skilled generation who can, reduce our emissions all around the world.
Justin, let me ask you a follow-up question, because I think it's quite important. From your perspective, from the perspective of the industry, not as a representative of the private sector, but from the perspective of the industry, do you think that universities are responding to those challenges? What would be your view?
Yeah, I think they are. We're actually finding that they're demanding this from us, right? Because when you're in the university space, what you want is to be able to access real projects, real data, real projects where you can gain those insights, make decisions, and learn so that you could move into a good paying job. So we're getting a lot of requests for access to our content. Faculty is asking, we have a train the trainer model. So we make sure that they're comfortable with the content, that they can integrate the curriculum and the content into their own, curriculum and their classroom. So we're finding that there is demand for this. Now, there are some universities in certain locations where you need to provide additional support. So we bring in IBMers as mentors. We have academic ambassadors. We spend more time with them because they need to be brought along on the journey. But absolutely, universities are looking for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Justin. Look, time is running. Okay, so I need to request you to move to your chairs because a new set of panelists will come. Thank you very much. And applause for them, please. Now, the next in my script, Rami Radview. Then we have Susanna Karakaya. And then I think that that's it. Okay, we have only two this time. Now, let me say something. This is moving very fast, but I think that this is just an opportunity for you to locate possible contacts that you can follow up on, in the corridors. As usual, we won't have the time to engage in a conversation here, but please use the opportunity, to follow up in the corridor. There is a nice coffee shop nearby. Now, we have now two more panelists. Now, the first one is Professor Rami Radview. Okay, he comes from the University of Helsinki, where he works as university lecturer on sustainability education. So it's really a pleasure to have you and the university as a partner of UNESCO in this commitment to sustainability. Now, I would like to ask you a question as an expert on greening education curriculum at the University of Helsinki in Finland. Now, can you help us to understand the process by which sustainability skills and competencies can be integrated into degree programs, into the functions of knowledge production and research at higher education. Your experience would be really, really amazing for us. Please.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation and the pleasure to work with UNESCO. And I totally agree what you said in the previous panel. We really need to work with stakeholders, and we have lots of courses based on project-based learning with real case scenarios with stakeholders, so it's important. Yeah, a couple of points I would like to highlight here. Firstly, I think it's really important to consider what kind of sustainability we are teaching and advancing in universities. So maybe the most common conceptualizations are concepts of weak sustainability and strong sustainability. Weak sustainability is like the traditional model of three different dimensions of economic, environmental, social sustainability. The idea that we try to balance them. Then the little bit newer conceptualization that is getting more mainstream in sustainability education is called strong sustainability. And the idea of that is that we have planetary boundaries, so-called, let's say, biosphere setting the limits to human activities. And that is something that we are really trying to push forward at the University of Helsinki. Then, as we heard in the previous panel, both our staff and students really need a new set of skills to be able to solve these sustainability challenges. And there are many frameworks for that. One that we are using at the University of Helsinki, or we are inspired is by Week et al. And in that framework, there's, let's say, 5 key competencies, such as systems thinking, values thinking, futures thinking, strategic thinking, collaboration skills, and so on, and many others. And many of the students also learn these things outside the, let's say, curricular activities, as we heard in the previous session, and when they are activists pushing forward sustainability agenda and so on. So this should be kept in mind. Then thirdly, maybe the final point I would like to say is that we really have to support both our students and staff agency and choose, let's say, kind of a transformative strategy for curriculum change. So we know from the literature a couple of things that should be kept in mind. So we need some kind of driving force that can be any one of us in this room. We need good communication. We need to create this kind of sense of ownership that can be through broad participation, creating strategies, visions together, seeking for partners, both internal and external partners, as we are doing here today, absolutely, and we need coordination. And all this should be done in the institutional level, in the weekly programs, networks, and also in the individual level, like every one of us. And what we have been trying to do in Helsinki, we are thinking this curriculum change as a kind of intervention point. So that's a kind of possibility to make a change. And we have done a new strategic plan where sustainability is one of the focus points. We have made pedagogical roadmaps, so we have to change the pedagogy also. And we have had foresight workshops, so we have to think about possible future visions. And then we need all kind of support for the organization. For instance, university level guidelines, how to implement all this. Then we need funding, of course. So we have utilized seed funding. Staff training is really important together with stakeholders, and research, of course. That's our key activity.
Remy, that's impressive. I mean, you have showed us in 3 minutes or so, how broad the commitment with sustainability and really higher education can be. And when you go down to the details, how engaging it can also be. Okay, so thank you very much, Remy. Now, I didn't see one of the most special, participants in this panel, so I beg your pardon because I thought you weren't here. Now, let me introduce, let me say if I pronounce it correctly, Mrs. Akza Mifda.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, she is a youth leader And I think it's very important that when we engage in these conversations about, higher education, we always consider, what youth have to say in terms of making sure that the youth voices are heard. So she is a youth leader from the UNESCO SDG 4. You remember the SDG related to education, youth, and student network. Now, AXA, sorry, sorry very much. I'm sorry. Well, you are committed to environmental issues, and you are recognized by us as an active champion in terms of sustainability. Now, I think that the audience would like to hear how you see the effect of climate change on education, and how going one step beyond in terms of greening higher education may enable the current and future generations, which you are part, to face climate change and get humanity, if I can say so, out of this vicious circle. So your voice would be really appreciated. Please.
First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd say education is the fundamental stone in achieving progress towards the SDGs and stabilizing nations, because it helps everyone understand, empower, and most importantly, equip them with the necessary skills to act as agents of change. But climate change poses a significant threat to education, especially displacement in areas prone to climate action. Climatic disruptions, which are caused by droughts, floods, hurricanes, and so on. Due to these disasters, children of schooling age are often at risk of losing their schools, studies being interrupted, and the majority of situations where schools are often used as emergency shelters. The urgency of this situation can be deduced by the 30.7 million displaced people in 2020 as a result of extreme weather events. And let's remember that this is 30.7 million people. Like, these are just not numbers. Like, yeah, these can be statistics, but these are people with their own homes and memories of their own. Now, let me go back to the second part of your question and about what I said earlier about education being the fundamental stone in achieving progress. I believe greening higher education is one of the effective ways in which higher educational institutions can equip their students with the knowledge, skills, and most importantly, attitudes when facing profound change such as this. It is important to note that higher education and institutions can act as catalysts in supporting a shift towards a more sustainable future. Another point to note is currently climate change education is limited towards science or environmental subjects, but the adoption of climate change in higher education in many other streams of studies can amplify the global efforts to address climate issues, because working in silos is not what the world needs right now. It needs collaborations such as this, like look at us now. I'd also like to stress on responsibility and accountability towards climate action, because responsibility is more than obliging and responding. It means we are expected to act responsibly and therefore be accountable for our actions. These life skills should also be implemented in the green curriculum, so students have substantial knowledge of decision making and a clear conscience while raising awareness for climate change.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Axel. I think it has been really impressive to hear your voice as usual. It is very important because often people working in higher education think that they are doing the best for their students, that we are providing a student-centered education, but then we don't pay attention to what young people say, so it was really wonderful to hear your perspective. Thank you very much. And now we are going to a completely different perspective. We have among us Dr. Susanna Karahayan. She's the immediate past president of the International Network of Quality Assurance Agencies in Higher Education. So I think that there is a point where we have heard in this panel not only the voice of one very powerful university when it comes to sustainability, a youth voice, but also the ones who are leading, so to say, the process of getting more and more quality. And I think that, Susanna, you have been instrumental in creating a new framework for quality assurance in higher education. With your experience in policymaking, in governance, in administration, in higher education, can you tell us, what would you tell us about the challenges that higher education institutions face when it comes to greening higher education, and to what extent quality assurance agencies are taking those efforts into account when saying, well, this is a quality program or this is an accredited university? Please, Susanna.
Thanks very much, Francesca. And first of all, I would like to congratulate this team putting together such a diverse panel of stakeholders, bringing in diverse opinions from university, from schools, from private sector, from UN settings. So it's amazing to hear all the diverse. And now let's look what happens at the policy level. So what are we actually doing, and who is actually driving the greening university agenda? So if you have an overlook at what is going on at policy level, then we would say like at national and regional levels, there are generic framing of the sustainability and sustainable development policies. But when it comes to actually tackling what and how to, although there are some frameworks existing there, they're not driven predominantly by the national and regional policymakers. So majority of the population, university population, would look up at what is the national policy with this regard and specify specifics on how to move forward, right? But in the absence of those frameworks, like majority of the current initiatives are coming from the universities themselves. The universities seem to be the leaders in this action, and especially students. They are overactive, and they feel ownership of their present and future. And you would see a lot of movements coming from bottom up, from the teachers and from the students, faculty, and up to the policymakers. If you look currently at what is happening at the policy, there are very few countries who would specify in their sustainability or sustainable development goals, they would specify like higher education's role in it. Predominantly, the countries would set generic framework, but in case of France, for example, you could see that there is a specific definition of the role for higher education, which puts the policy framework clearly in front of the higher education on how to move forward. Others, they are just moving to the generic agenda. So what is key here is that, well, in terms of quality issues, regardless like internal and external quality assurance, we know that institutions have been scrutinized big time from national policy making levels, from independent accreditors, and all diverse external reviews of the institutional practices. When you look at them, you would see that standards and guidelines predominantly are generically set. And if you do not specify things clearly, if you don't specify measures how to achieve them, and if you don't put clear targets and KPIs on how to achieve those goals, then it becomes a bit vague for institutions, and it's very difficult to measure. A simple research into the standards of quality assurance standards brought like an example, like, well, if they were asked, the quality assurance bodies were asked whether they had clearly set values for higher education, including sustainability. And while many of the frameworks, policy frameworks, would define well the values, and then when it comes to the measurement methods, they failed to do so. And even more so, the implementation and monitoring and follow up on the set strategies. So when we come to the institutional level, we see that this is national level issues, and when it comes to the institutional level, the problems are even more deeper with the progressive institutions, like our example over here.
Helsinki University, it might be really very important, but out of 70,000 plus higher education institutions that are out there, what is the percentage of the institutions that are actually have the capacity to do so? When you look at the strategic planning, it's the cause for concern. When you look at the budget allocation, it's another problem. When you look at the stakeholder engagement, like students, faculty, it's another level of problem. The awareness raising campaigns, the toolkits developed for higher education like by the higher education institution for their own community. This is another challenge, but there are good examples, and these are they are very good, bright examples out there, and also by UNESCO too. The UNESCO IESALC recently came up with the SET.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is just a set of sustainability environmental tools, so that you could sustainable environmental tools, so that you could go and explore for higher education institutions. It's a measurement metric, a set of measurement metrics for you to be able to evaluate how the institution or how your activities are aligning with that. So this is another aspect of it. But also, the quality assurance bodies also are changing their approaches. Recently, IWAHE, the organization I'm representing here, we do global studies, like cyclical global studies, and currently we are in the second phase of the major global study, where we involve all the regions from the globe, internal and external quality assurance. When we say internal, this means higher education institutions, and external quality assurance is what we talk about accreditors and national regulators. So during the first study, which was completed and published in 2020, we found that majority, there was a growing concern about the isolation of the quality assurance system and not being a complete part, integrated part of institutional life, based on which we have revised all the standards. And recently in 2022, we announced the second edition of our international standards and guidelines, which clearly define SDGs. They are linking clearly to the SDGs on how to promote quality assurance elements, how to promote SDG, and how to promote the regional convention, the global convention for recognition of qualification. With all of this, I know that I don't have much time, but to promote the green culture, we do need to have clear measurement mechanisms, clear strategies, more clarity in the expectations from the more clear you are with your stakeholders, the more engagement you will get. The major issue is the industry engagement. So there is a problem of university and industry engagement on how to drive this green culture agenda. So those things need to be really carefully put into a tangible, concrete plan of actions with measurement mechanisms, with indicators to see the achievement, and also, most importantly, knowing the core values that your stakeholders abide by, so that you could actually influence the behavioral changes coming from the stakeholders as well. And also, I think that this is clear, this is very important when we talk about sustainable development and, you know, all our super nice agenda over there. If you look globally now, and that was in the UNESCO report in 2022, at that time there were 56 countries, which makes that 26 or 27% of all the countries were in military tension and were in some kind of problem. So now maybe it's about 30%. So think about 30% of countries who are very far from being sustainable or thinking about sustainability. So if the 30% of the countries are not able to achieve it, how are we, the rest of the globe, planning to achieve this sustainable development? So this is something that I would love to leave us with. Let's build in, let's nurture the value of peace, the value of green economy, the value of sustainability, the value of green university in our students and faculty, so that we make sure that the upcoming generations are grateful to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you. In this second panel, just as summary, we have seen a good example of, you know, how a university manages the transition towards a more greening higher education. We have heard the powerful voice of youth, probably the most important driver of this move towards more greening. But we have also heard a very important message from Susanna, which I would translate into, if you cannot measure, you cannot manage it, right? And I think that the message here has been, yes, we are committed to greening higher education, but we need really to have, measurements to make sure that we accredit progress. Thank you very much, and applause for them. And now we move to the third one. Now, I'm going to invite at this point, Dima again. Dima, yes, please. I'm going to invite Brina as well. And Justine. Yes. Okay, yes. And then there is also Sandra Goulart. Yes. Okay. That will be okay, good. Now we are moving into possible actions, okay, that we can take together. Some of the partners represented here, and I would like to invite also you to continue this conversation when we are finished, in the corridors or around the coffee cup. Now, maybe I would like to express, first of all, our gratitude to this cooperation that Dima is going to announce in a minute, which is about this partnership between the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation and the Institute for Higher Education at UNESCO, which is about promoting, in a way, South-South cooperation among universities. So, Dima, I'd like very much you to launch precisely this agreement and provide us with more details about this exciting development.
But this is really
Well, just representing the young people, we actually have invited 5 young youth leaders from all UNESCO regions to really present on what they believe greening higher education can be like and how they can possibly be involved.
My fault, Dima, my fault. Please, go ahead.
Science and technology have always been driving forces in human progress, moving us to new horizons and pushing the limits of what is possible. From the creation of the wheel to the exploration of outer space, our unwavering pursuit of knowledge and innovation has profoundly transformed the globe. In today's rapidly evolving world, the demand for long-term sustainable solutions has never been greater. This is where environmental education comes in as a powerful tool to equip present as well as future generations as stewards of our planet, fostering eco-conscious actions.
The intersection of green education, science, and technology holds the key to tackling some of our time's most critical issues, such as climate change, pollution, and resource depletion. We can harness the potential of innovation to build a better, more sustainable future for everybody through multidisciplinary cooperation, dedication to sustainable development, and by enabling and equipping students and youth with the tools and skills needed to face these critical issues.
This is not without challenges. Securing funds for sustainability programs, incorporating sustainability into current curricula, altering institutional culture and practices, neglecting the potential of youth and students, the lack or scarcity of skills building, and overcoming opposition to change are all limitations in greening higher education. Furthermore, engaging multiple stakeholders on science, technology, and innovation transfer, adopting sustainability practices on campus, and monitoring the effects of sustainability activities may present obstacles. Additionally, the absence of a systemic approach such as a network that allows for exchanges and collaboration among higher education institutions in greening initiatives, especially involving the Global South, is another challenge. Higher education stakeholders are responsible for taking the necessary actions in equipping and allowing young people to take up leadership roles and create sustainable solutions.
At the heart of the desired transformation and the solutions lies the imperative to actively involve and equip emerging generations. In this transformative journey, South-South and triangular cooperation emerges as an indispensable vehicle. South-South and triangular cooperation can bring together institutions and networks globally, facilitating exchange of knowledge, expertise, and resources with synergy to create a dynamic platform that empowers young people to cultivate a robust landscape of green education, science, technology, and innovation. This form of cooperation is highly necessary, particularly in the global south and beyond, serving as a means to amalgamate knowledge, expertise, and resources on a global scale.
Let us embrace the limitless possibilities of green education, science, technology, and innovation. We can unlock new opportunities, inspire future generations, and lay the foundation for a peaceful and sustainable society.
Today, we are asking stakeholders from higher education institutions, UN agencies, government, civil society organizations, and the private sector to be on our side. Join our passion and mission of creating a greening planet, support our leadership, and encourage cooperation through a network starting with the Global South and beyond. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Not much for that. I'm sorry, Nima, because the question for you was precisely, do you think that with our partnership, we are going to address many of the requests that we have heard?
These were very eloquent and powerful, and I think Ahmed Nasser said it all in terms of the relevance of creating this and launching this network of South-South cooperation university network together with UNESCO. So I'm really grateful to UNESCO for this partnership, the right partner for that, but also to measure up with the expectations and the aspiration of the youth. I think this initiative that will bring together 11 universities as a start to start with piloting, and it will definitely create, a wider horizon, if you will, for these youth to connect together to address issues of sustainable development that have no geographic boundary. I mean, we are living in a global world. The issues are global, and it's extremely important that this is, a skilling process that will back with science, with evidence, it will back any response to all the global development challenges. So this is for us definitely an illuminating beacon of knowledge coming up, and we hope to groom it and grow it and learn.
Thank you very much, Nima. Thank you very much. Well, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Now, we have heard the voices of some youth. We have heard the launch of this partnership between the office and the Office of South-South Cooperation and UNESCO. Now, I'd like to hear, if possible, the voice of one university rector presenting precisely her ambitions about what to expect. Professor Sandra Goulart is the rector of the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Brazil. So we are going to hear her. Okay.
Greetings from Brazil. As President and Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Brazil, I would like to thank UNESCO and the Director of the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, Dima Al-Khatib, for the invitation to speak briefly in this panel at COP28. I would like, first of all, to highlight the importance that all universities all over the world have to join in a global effort towards a more sustainable world by means of their regular activities such as teaching, research, and especially outreach programs. After all, we are responsible for educating the future generation that we hope will persevere in the aim of placing the protection of nature and the environmental conditions as a priority. This is the only future possible for humankind, to educate the future generation to act with a sustainable focus regarding our planet. As universities, we are not only firmly committed to all the sustainable development goals, but we are fully engaged in what I think is the most important of the SDG. I'm referring to SDG 17, that talks specifically about the importance of global partnership for sustainable development. In this sense, I would like to stress the importance of cooperation among universities, especially in the Global South, not only to attain the goal of a more sustainable world, but also to join our strength in the construction of a better world with more social justice, equality, and especially solidarity. Cooperation South-South is also about solidarity, about nations that are really committed with the full understanding that we have to preserve our world. An epistemology of the South, as a famous sociologist puts it, allows for an important shift of focus not only in the production of knowledge from our institutions, but also as a means to better serve, to unite peoples and nations towards a common goal, that of a common future that we all share, in the words of the Brazilian indigenous leader, Ailton Krenak. Ailton Krenak also mentions that, and I quote, "We are alerted all the time to the consequences of these recent choices we have made. And if we can give attention to some vision that escapes this blindness that we are experiencing all over the world, perhaps it can open our minds to some cooperation among peoples, not only to save others, but also to save ourselves." End of quote. Cooperation among peoples, cooperation among individuals, and cooperation among institutions and countries. This is what we have learned from the difficult times of the pandemic. After all, we must be aware, as the important Latin American thinker Eduardo Galeano says, that the rights of nature and the human rights are two names of the same dignity. And it is in the name of this dignity of nature and this dignity of humans, that we must seek to strengthen South-South cooperation in all fields of knowledge, and especially towards a more sustainable world. I conclude by expressing my firm belief in the commitment of my country, of my government, and of our institutions of higher education to this relevant and promising initiative of cooperation between South and South institutions. Thank you very much. I am looking forward to welcoming you to Brazil for COP30, hoping that by then we have made some progress towards a stronger and more solidary South and South cooperation among our institutions. Together, we can do more and better for the world, and we have a responsibility as institutions of higher education towards our world and our peoples. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to applaud for that. Thank you very much. Very eloquent defense of this partnership. Now, let me shift to another university again, because we have this partnership with the University of Helsinki. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Rina. In 5 minutes?
No, 5:30 it was over.
No. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your support. Let's use this time because we never know when we'll be ending. Okay, I was saying, yes, Mrs. Rina Koivuranta, who is Senior Specialist on Community Relations at the University of Helsinki. And I would like to propose that you provide us with a different perspective of what universities can do in terms of contributing to sustainability and greening their activities. Well, I know the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. I think a lot has already been said here today. But I think that all in all, universities are really at a point of reflection, as many institutions. So really kind of looking at ourselves. We have a big history of kind of looking at what we're good at. We're talking about research excellence, about rankings, and really kind of talking that language. But in addition to looking at what we're good at, we should really, and we are starting to look at what we're good for. So really kind of what's our contribution and what's our responsibility and what's our opportunity in this current crisis. And I think that one of my favorite quotes is from a professor of course, Annu Kavainio. He has been, she's a professor of sustainable behavioral change. And she has been telling me that what we need to do as leaders in higher education or organizations to really look at the fact that we need to break that illusion or delusion of nothing being done. Because we know currently that younger generations especially are really suffering, for example, from climate anxiety and the feeling that nothing is being done. So we really need to show that something is being done. So every time we work with our own students or with any collaborations, I try to bring up things that we are doing as a university, whether it's about the curriculum reform, whether it's about our partnerships with businesses, whether it's about our own daily activities when it comes to our own investments, our own procurement practices, our own estates, our own carbon neutrality roadmap, giving those examples. And that's not to say that I'm saying we are perfect or doing things right or enough, but say that you are not alone. For example, or especially to our youth, you are not alone in acting. And when we also are vocal about the things that we're doing, we can also unite better, because then we can have the feedback of, hey, have you thought about this or have you tried that? So I think that's really important, because I think that really the next step or the steps that we need to take, as has been already highlighted here, is collaboration. No single individual, no single scientific discipline, no single organization, no single nation can do this alone. So really doing this together is really important, as has been said. And I'm really thankful for UNESCO IESALC for this collaboration thus far, and really excited to say that this collaboration continues, and I hope that everyone here in the room and online will join us, and we will be hosting a series of workshops to really explore these discussions further so that we can continue on learning from each other. And I also want to invite you next summer to Helsinki for online to a Congress that we're hosting. This is really a platform for institutions of higher education coming together with businesses and coming together with other societal actors to really solve current global crisis.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marina. We'll be there, certainly. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we have launched that partnership. We have heard, one particular university in this spirit of not only South-South, but triangular cooperation, and that's why you are here. Now, I'm turning to Mrs. Justine, because I think that it would be nice to see what are your prospects at IBM of expanding your activities for 2024 and 2025, maybe, when it comes to supporting the greening of higher education with us or with other partners?
Well, it's with you. I know we have to get out of here very soon, so I'll be short. But no, we're excited about the collaborative opportunity to work with UNESCO. I think, again, we're mission aligned. Our focus is on how do we make sure we provide access to education for all. And that's the same thing that you guys are doing. And then our focus on these marginalized communities, the Global South and, underrepresented communities, and how do we make sure they have the training and support that they need to move into a good paying job. So we're going to continue to expand our work and expand our partnership with UNESCO. We're very pleased about that. We are building more AI content. We're building more sustainability content and cybersecurity. These are all growing fields, and we want to make sure that we're not leaving those communities behind. So very excited about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Justine. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are leading towards the end of this short session. I hope that you have been learning a bit, and also maybe raising new questions about what to do next. Okay, we are just providing a couple or three avenues of what cooperation may mean: triangular cooperation, South-South cooperation, cooperation with business. We also heard important leaders from the youth side, but also from universities about the importance of this kind of initiatives. Now, I would like really to thank these panelists, for their contribution with another applause. And thank you. And now I wanted just to use the very last minutes for those of you willing to, we're going to take a picture, with on the occasion of the launch of this initiative. So whoever wants to be part of this launch, so to say, please move here so we can really have a picture with the banner behind. Or in front. I'm in front of the audience.